Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rude Read Along for the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I'm Arthur. This is my channel, Chapter Select. Everybody, introduce yourselves.
I'm Samantha from channel Novels and Nonsense.
I'm Liz from elizziebooks.
I'm Katie from vincentvanstop.
My bad.
And so
it's okay. We're the same person.
We want to thank you guys for joining us for this. Anyway, there's a Q&A link somewhere on one of these sides where you can go and you can post your questions, and we'll be able to answer them and up the ones that you like best. Sorry that we're on here late. This is not 9 o'clock like we said, or 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Something wasn't
somewhere.
Yeah,
Very true.
Well, not really. I don't think that works with time zones.
Sure. My name is Liz, and I know time.
So, let's just get started by giving your overall impressions of the book. So, I guess I'll start. I've read the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis before, and I've had a whole bunch of people like coming to me and being like, "You should read some of C.S. Lewis's other works. They're all so great." And I've tried reading the Screwtape Letters before. It's kind of difficult, but I read it this time, and I absolutely loved it. I think it's because it's not often that I read philosophical novels. Like, this was a novel, kind of, but it was also kind of philosophical. And I think it was just so unique, and it just, like, hit me so much, like, whenever I read it. Like, I was constantly picking out things that, like, were going on in my life that need to kind of change and I need to reevaluate, and I see happening every day. And so I just really liked it overall. So, anybody else?
Yeah, I was the same. I actually tried to read this back when I was 15 or 16. My dad and my sister tried to get me to read it, but I couldn't really get into it, and I actually hadn't read the Chronicles of Narnia either, so I was excited to pick it up, and I really enjoyed it, and I was kind of the same. It really makes you kind of evaluate your life, kind of like an examination of conscience thing. It makes you realize how many things you do that you don't even realize, and yeah, it was just really well written. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I felt similarly, where it's just like, it's kind of like a self-examination of like, have I done that in my life? I've totally done that. Like, especially with, I know this is more specific rather than broad, but like with him talking about, oh, you're sitting on the pew in church and you're like judging people. I'm like, I've totally done that. And like, yeah, it's definitely like something that you work on and whatnot. And I've also read Mere Christianity. Basically, one of my friends got me a Barnes & Noble gift card one time, and so I bought like an anthology kind of thing. So, and me and one of my other friends read Mere Christianity for a Bible study-ish thing that we used to do. So that's always fun.
Yeah, how'd you like that one, like, compared?
It's definitely like more straightforward as far as like talking about Christianity and talking about faith and stuff. I don't remember totally a whole bunch about it, but yeah, I also read a couple of the Chronicles of Narnia, but not too much. But Magician's Nephew all the way.
I'm trying to tweet this.
Sorry.
Katie, you can go.
Okay. Okay. Okay, it worked. It worked. I was trying to like find the link for anyway. So yeah, I had actually tried to read this before also. I think it was like right after I don't know when it was. It was a while ago, and I just couldn't really get into it, I guess. And then this time when I tried to read it, it was hard for me to like read it because like it is so like self-examining, and you're just like, oh, that's me. I do that. Oh, wait, that's something that I never think about, but I should probably be aware of these things. And so yeah, it was a lot of that. So listening to the audio was really nice.
Oh yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was it makes you kind of just like take a step back and think about like yourself, but like other than that whole aspect, I liked that it was kind of like the one-sided letters aspect. Like it would have been, I guess, kind of more complete if there was like a second letter correspondence, but I liked that it wasn't there because it kind of like left some stuff to the imagination, and you kind of like wonder what Wormwood, I almost said Wormtail, was like writing that. So yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna want to say that. That's gonna be my problem with this live show.
Funny.
All right. I feel like I will just be reading everybody, but I really enjoyed it. I read it before. I think in high school I read a book that was similar, like the same concept, the demon writing to somebody else that was a demon, by somebody else who was like inspired by C.S. Lewis, and I didn't know about Screwtape Letters, and so then I like heard about it. I was like, oh, I need to read that, and I really liked it the first time. I mostly listened to the audiobook this time, which was amazing. Like, anytime I reread this book, it's going to be the audiobook because
I
it's
think
so
we all
good.
like found different audiobooks too.
Yeah. Who was your readers? Because I had John Cleese, and it was
That
fantastic.
was mine.
I had like Ralph somebody.
Yeah, I think
But-
that's who mine was too.
I got mine on Overdrive, so that might.
Yeah, that's exactly what I used. So.
I got to
I
like
did the John Cleese one off
John Cleese.
YouTube. Yeah. John Cleese.
But overall, we're all good. C.S. Lewis is great
We're all
at
good.
writing and making a story. So like the whole devil's advocate thing is really great. It's really unique because it's it's a lot of things that you maybe have heard before or heard at church or heard in different ways, but then you have it coming from a devil's advocate and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
we're actually
okay.
linked. Yeah, he's playing devil's advocate.
Also,
It's hard in the heart.
but also like the fact that like he sits there and calls God the enemy and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Where like you're used to being in church and somebody saying like referring to Satan as the enemy and like, oh, the enemy, blah blah blah, or whatever. But yeah, it was interesting to see like that side of it being like, okay, this is how we think about this, and it's not good because then we have no one coming to hell, and here are reasons for doing this and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was definitely difficult at first because I was like reading along and it's like, oh, the enemy, and I was, oh wait, no. hang
Yeah,
on.
I would get turned around a lot.
Yeah.
Apparently Dylan's watching.
Hello, Dylan.
Hello, Dylan. Yeah.
I can pretty much
Dylan
guarantee
told-
he hasn't read this book, but
He hasn't.
thanks for being here,
I was
Dylan.
talking to him about it the other day, and he was like, "Wait, live show? What's it about?" And I was like, I explained, and he was like, "Wow, that's really heavy. I'm probably gonna come to the live show, but I'm not gonna have any idea what's going on." So,
He just
well.
said that. I don't know what you're talking about. Um, but yeah, like, I think I wanted to let everybody know that's watching. We are gonna go into spoilers, but there's no way to spoil this book. It's really not a book with that much of a plot to it, as much theme ideas. So like, there's no spoilers, but we're gonna be talking about the entire book. So
It's a very short book too. So
Yeah.
if you want to read it afterward,
yeah, the audiobook's like 3 hours long. So
you could speed that up too.
And it's not phenomenal.
Mhm. So what link do I tweet out? Do I tweet out the YouTube page link?
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Tweet out this link that we're on right now.
Yeah.
Everybody will join it.
I almost did that, but I was like, "Wait, no, stop. Think for a second."
Stop hammer time.
Yeah. So, what was one thing that really like stuck out to you? Do you think was there any one thing that really hit you hard about what Screwtape was talking about?
I think for me it was just the judging. How much you don't realize. It's so subversive, you don't even realize you're doing it. And he was really calling to attention how often humans tend to judge other people, even in like the church, a place where you're supposed to be not judgmental. I mean, you're supposed to not be anywhere, but in particular, you're being called to attention in church, but you still do it anyway. I think that really hit hard. Like, just makes you more aware of how often you do it.
Yeah, I think one for me was the gluttony one, where he was talking about. He said, I don't know. This is just the one that mind was the one where he said like even it's not just asking and taking a lot. Like it's not just eating big portions. It's about like being so specific and sounding like you don't mind, but like you want to get what you want when you want it. And it's even if you're asking for
point where like he was talking about the patient's mother or something like that.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Like the mother was like, I would like a little bit of this, like and just like do it this little way. It's not much. And she's like, I'm cutting back on eating. I'm not being a glutton. But like you're still forcing to like get what you want. And I think that that's something that I do a lot. Like it's not just a food thing. It's obviously it's like everything, you know, when you think about too much in moderation.
Has to be just right. Everything has to be just right. Yeah, maybe.
And like the lengths you'll go to get that.
Well, also I thought what was interesting that he was bringing up was how much, like, in terms of the patient and people in general, how they lost the train of thought. Like just that train left the station. It was how we tend to do things just because of how people will view it, not because we actually enjoy doing it. Like we think it'll impress that person or it'll make us seem important because we want to feel important, but not because we actually enjoy doing it. And how when we actually do something that we absolutely love that brings us personal joy, how that's closer to God. I thought that was an interesting point he was kind of making.
Yeah, I think another...
like when...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, that part, I actually kind of laughed a little bit because he was like, you made a mistake. You let our guy go out and enjoy himself. He read a book that he wanted to read just because he wanted to read it, and not because he wanted to talk about it with his people or whatever and talk about how smart he was. He's like, and you let him go on a walk all by himself, and he liked it.
Yes.
I thought that was, like, that just made me laugh because it's like, that is how, like, those are the kind of things that, like, often make me find joy with God is, like, I'm walking around, I'm like, it's a beautiful day. There's nothing, like, Jesus loves me. It's great. It's like, and so it just made me laugh when he said that.
I do love that.
Really,
He's very specific in what he wants. And if somebody... Oh, go ahead, Maureen.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you're going to keep going on this topic, I can go because I have a different thing.
Oh, I was just going to say that somebody said that on the gluttony issue, it made me think of all the crazy diet fads, but also like hipsters. And, but they're kind of right. Though. Like, honestly.
Well, yeah. Like diet fads, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing that I was going to say was the thing when he talked about people like basically saying like four people are talking about something they want to do and these three people want to do this thing and this one person doesn't. They're like, well, like I don't care, but like I'd rather do this, but we can do whatever you want to do. But I'd rather like that whole
that definitely
because that's so
sacrificing thing.
So like that's something that I do all the time. Like you want it to look like you care. Like I don't care, but I'd rather do this, and then nobody ends up doing anything because everybody's fighting about what they're doing. I was like, oh,
yeah,
be right
here.
Yeah, I also, one thing that really stuck out to me was when he was talking about, I took a lot of notes, so I'm looking over that.
I was like, you're so organized. I'm sitting here like,
look at you go.
Go, Arthur.
As I was listening to the audio,
like, let me dredge through my memory.
Yeah.
No, as I was going through the audiobook, I was like, this is definitely something I need to write down. But yeah, there was the talk about prayer, and when he was saying like, you need to make him make his prayers very spiritual and not direct, because the more spiritual they are, like the less like they actually matter. Like you're trying to add fluff to it to make it sound. And I know that's something I think about a lot. And it's like you feel like you can't be casual. Like it's like I have to, like, it's this greater being I must be speaking to in English. But like you're saying, like the more spiritual your prayers are, like the less they really are yours. So
Yeah, because I had a friend in high school who, like, yeah, she was the person who kind of opened my eyes up that, like, you can be casual, because for the longest time, like, even people my age were like, "Dear Father of the heavenly highest mountain," like, okay, if that's what you want to talk about, go ahead. But she was just like, "Hey, Dad, let's talk about this. This is how I feel about this, and let's pray about these people here, and this, that, and the other." And I was like, "That's really cool."
yeah, I really love just the language that C.S. Lewis uses throughout, like to talk about Screw Tape, because it's like so spot on with the way
Oh, yeah.
like you think about like that kind of stuff. Like when he says like some people sojourn in Christianity and then they'll be in our house eventually. Like it's so cold, and like usually when you think of satire, you think of like, oh, it's gonna be hilarious, but like
Yeah, because that's what I thought. Like, yeah, because I said that in my like book haul video, because I mentioned it. I was like, yeah, we're gonna be reading this. It's satire. It's funny. And then I read it, and I was like, oh wait, this is a different kind of satire.
Sad tire.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I also like the.
Dylan, are you proud of me?
What?
I flipped to chapter 19, and he's talking about like the love of God, and like he's like, why does he love these people? He can't love these
yeah,
people.
I really love the points in the story where you saw like the cracks in Screw Tape. Like for most of it, he's like this uppity, like I know everything, I know how to screw this guy up, and then you see like he doesn't understand everything, and that also like he loses in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this unreliable narrator. Like usually when you think about like unreliable narrators, it's like the person that's lost their memory or like it's going crazy or something.
Yeah.
This is an unreliable narrator that's just flat out possibly lying to your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's trying to guide
But
us.
he's not lying. He's just ignorant. He doesn't know. Because
Yeah.
he can't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna comment on this question that someone had, or this comment about read the prayer thing. I love how Lewis put so much emphasis and on will and intention rather than feeling spiritual or whatever, because in the troughs it's hard to feel strongly sometimes. And I really like whenever Screw Tape was talking about how the patient was feeling like dry in his spirituality, and he was like, this is when you need to hit him the hardest, because this is where he's going to get the closest to God. It's not necessarily the mountaintops where he gets the closest, it's the troughs, it's the like valley. And I was like, oh, that's so good, because you don't even think about, like, while you're going through it, you're like, okay, like, I know I really need to do this, and I really need to, like, stay close to God, but you don't necessarily think about how that's affecting your spiritual life and how that's making you stronger until you're out of it, really. But that was, like, in the moments, like, this is going to make him stronger, so you need to attack him the hardest at this point.
Yeah, I feel like it was really interesting to, like, flip, because, like, a lot of people, like, use the analogy, like, you're stuck in this hole, and you're, like, you're trying to crawl your way out, and, like, relying on God will get you out. But like really, it can be like a mountaintop moment, you know, when you're struggling through something and you feel closest to God. And then when you're in those troughs, like I know so many times it's like, okay, routine prayer, routine reading, you know. Yeah. So I think that it's definitely true that like the casual prayer can really help in the troughs, like instead of the spiritual, like, routine prayer. But anyway, Dylan says he likes my poster. Thank you, Dylan. There's a question here that says, what are some of the simple pleasures in life that bring you spiritual renewal?
Can we say reading? Because this is BookTube.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like just like hanging out with friends and building relationships with people is a big one for me, because I'm a very relational person, and now that I'm like out of college, it's a little bit harder to have those moments of just like hanging out and like having a good time together. But that's very like a very spiritual renewal thing, because more often than not, some of the conversation is going to be back on God. It's not necessarily like we need to talk about God all the time, but it's really refreshing to be around people that build you up and that encourage you and that are just really positive influences in your life. So that's one for me.
I know for me, it's like I'm not an art major. I'm an art minor, but I still do art a lot, like photography, but also drawing. I'm a big drawer, and like going around and just like taking a still life and just like drawing it and seeing just the amount of complexity in something so small is just like, it's amazing. Like to think of not only like the thing, but the light and the shadow and everything. It's so complex. And just when you focus on that, I think that really helps a lot for me.
For me, I think it's whenever I'm out in nature, like especially in like a quiet place, because we live kind of out towards the country, so there's lots of really quiet places by the river and stuff, and it's places there where everything is quiet and like you're surrounded by everything is created, and it just, I don't know, I definitely feel a connection there that I find very refreshing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's like what I always do, like when I'm feeling like sad, or I mean really like any emotion, I just like being out in nature. But yeah, I like either just like going to the beach, or if I'm feeling super adventurous, I'll like go out in the woods or something, and I don't know, take my camera and just kind of like listen to music or not listen to music. And it's really, because I live in like a small city, so it's like usually kind of loud, but yeah, just to be in the quiet, and I can actually like, I don't know, it's like you're in creation, like you said. It's just it's a nice experience. It's one of the, that's like my main go-to.
Yeah. Anybody else? That was a water bottle.
Mine is like somewhere which like mine changes, so like a lot of times it is like small group or like hanging out, even if we're not talking about God and stuff, and then sometimes it's like just sitting on my back porch with my dog and my cat and watching them be crazy, and just like not having my phone out there or anything else, just like sitting out there, because my back porch faces the woods, and so, and like, yeah, you've got neighbors and stuff like that, but for the most part you don't see them unless my neighbor's creeping around. But yeah, sitting out there with some coffee.
Dylan. Sometimes when I eat something that's hella tasty, I get pretty emotional, so that's mine. I love that child. That's so good.
But you have to like appreciate a good dish, though. Like,
it's true.
No, really, like food is a spiritual experience.
Oh yeah.
So many.
I love food so much. That is so true.
Just come to the South, have some chicken and waffles, and you'll have a spiritual experience. at what is it? Gladys Chicken and Waffles.
Not gonna lie though, I'm from Maryland, so the thing to do is crabs. Getting like a whole bunch of friends, crabs, and just cracking them and just talking. Honestly, like a social experience. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
boils.
Let Dylan know that we're talking about the screw tape letters. But
yeah, Dylan knows. He just didn't read it.
Just making sure. Hang on. Somebody asked something. Okay. Somebody asked, Screwtape does whatever he can do to discredit Christianity, convincing people that mere religion is not enough. What would you say to someone who told you that Christianity is too old-fashioned?
You're in the wrong type of
rooted in like, because like it's the same. It's similar to like the message in this book where it's like, even if it was written like so long ago, like a lot of the same like themes and things can apply to today. Like even if we're not wearing sandals all the time and we're not washing each other's feet, like it translates into other parts of our lives. So it's serving other people, but not like being boastful about that, and
Yeah, I do like I would honestly kind of point them to this book because like besides the whole, I think the only thing that takes it out of its time period is the war, but that really could be referencing any war, but like set in World War II. But besides that, yeah, like everything is still relevant, and there's like new denominations, new things going on since this, and I think that, yeah, old-fashioned. I think it really just depends on, when you read the Bible and you go through this, you really realize how relevant it still is to your life, and yeah, I think that
The themes are timeless.
yeah, I think definitely, and this book really is about temptation. And I think temptation it's always existed. It's always going to exist. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That.
I just lost my thought. Dang it.
I feel your pain.
I think that people tell me,
say
like,
to people that said Christianity is too old-fashioned, you're sorry.
No, I already stopped talking. Go ahead.
Are one of you gonna?
Froze.
I guess I will go. Maureen's probably. I think we're like a serious lag going on because she's frozen. But what I was gonna say is, like, I've heard this from people because that's kind of like the main, like, I don't know, it's just kind of old as, like, I think that I had to realize that, like, the same problems and the same things have kind of been happening for, like, the history of time. So just because, like, it was a few thousand years ago, it doesn't mean, like what we were saying, like, it's still relevant. I mean, yeah, the government system was a little bit different. Like, ancient Rome was kind of way, like, different than what we're living in today. Yeah. But if you, like, it's not just something that you can, like, the Bible is not something that you can just, like, dive into and be like, oh, let me just pick this. Like, you kind of have to really, like, meditate on it and, like, spend a lot of time working on that. So I would just tell them, like, give it some time. Like, this is not an instant gratification thing. Like, you got to kind of, like, be patient with everything, I guess. So, yeah. Anyway, Maureen, what were you saying? Sorry.
Sorry. I would say that you have the wrong idea, and you probably haven't actually, like, tried to read the Bible or whatever. Because I feel like I don't think that Christianity is old-fashioned at all. Like, I mean, it's something that's definitely a lot of the themes of the Bible. I mean, the stories are obviously in a certain time period, but the themes and the things that, like, for example, Paul talks about in the New Testament are super relevant to today, are very, like, okay, well, that hit me hard, and it was written so long ago. So, and then also, I think it also just depends on the people that you surround yourself with. If you think Christianity is too old-fashioned, I think you're around the wrong kind of people and the wrong kind of Christians that have a high and mighty view of Christianity and of being spiritual. And I think you need to get around some other people.
Well, that even goes back to Screwtape, like people judging other people based upon how you think they believe, instead of, like, evaluating yourself. Kind of like the person sitting in church that he was mentioning.
Yeah, so I do have a really quick question before we get to the other ones, but, like, I was thinking about this. I live in a dorm, so I've got a lot of people around me. A lot of them aren't Christians. And a lot of people, while I was sitting outside reading this book, they came up to me, asked me what it was about. Do you think that this is a book that you could give to a non-Christian, or do you think that it's too much of, let's not go there, or, like, what are your opinions on that? I don't know, like...
Ooh, I don't know. I think if I would have read this book before I was a Christian, I would have been terrified. I would have been like, oh gosh! Or I would have just hated myself.
To be my guardian angel or whatever. Because, like, that's another thing that was in this book was, like, he's like, you're going to pretend to be his guardian angel. You're going to protect him.
It's so creepy.
I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I guess my feeling was like... Oh, go ahead, Maureen.
Sorry, I keep interrupting people. I'm trying to...
It's fine.
I think you'd be lagging a little bit, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I think that it depends on where they were at on, like if they were, like, really, like, had looked into Christianity and read some of the Bible, I think maybe I'd be like, yeah, this could be interesting. You just have to know it's satire. I think instead I would recommend This Present Darkness.
Oh yeah.
I've read that, but it has a lot of both sides rather than just the one side. So it's like more of a balanced view, like in Frank Peretti's mind, it's like kind of an angels versus demons kind of thing, and you see like the spiritual warfare. Like if they were wanting to read something like this, I would be like, you should maybe read this so you don't get so scared, because this is just like the demon side of things.
I haven't read This Present Darkness, but I own it. Is it really good? Like, I need to read
really
it.
Great. It's one of my favorite books. I need to reread it. But it's one of my favorite, just because of how Frank Peretti writes spiritual warfare. It's crazy, and like just stuff like people who like are praying and have like a house of prayer. It's like the demons can't enter because of their prayers and that kind of stuff. It's just really interesting to see that kind of thing. Also, another good one is but it's more like the angelish side is Blessed Child by Ted Dekker. That's another really good one.
Yeah, I need to read. I need to read more like Ted Dekker because I really want to read 3 again. I heard that was really good.
Gosh.
That
was such a scary book.
But anyway.
I read nonfiction Christian books.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody said old-fashioned is one of those vague words that completely ignores solid things like true and right.
Yeah.
I think you hit the hit. Good job.
Good job. Good job. Yeah.
Somebody here says, nice to see some fellow Christians from BookTube. That's great, guys. Thanks. Mere Christianity is one of my favorite religious books. What's everybody's favorite besides the Screw Tape / Bible?
A lot of them.
No.
I thought they said the Screw Tape Bible, and then I was a little confused.
You're like, what?
There's a Stephen Furtick. I forget which one it's called. I can't remember, but Stephen Furtick has one that's good. He writes more nonfiction. Like most of the Christian books that I've read have been nonfiction. So like I have read Mere Christianity. I've read one of Stephen Furtick's books. I've read a couple other ones. I have one of David Crowder's books called Praise Habit. That was like the first Christian book outside of like the Bible that I read, I think.
I feel like I haven't actually read too many. One that I really liked, and I'm not sure like everybody's opinions on it, but Crazy Love.
Yes, yeah.
I liked it. Like that's the only one that really sticks in my mind. But like everybody like recommends like Frank Peretti and Ted Dekker. So I just need to read more of it. Like I really like 3. Like 3 was great, but like I just like. It's really weird when you look at Christian fiction, though, because there's like a wide range. It's either like the put a bonnet on it fiction, the Amish set, and then there's the just extremely creepy books, and it's like a weird dichotomy. But anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Because I've walked through that. Yeah, because it's either like autobiographical or somehow like a more kind of teaching kind of book, and then it's some of the different stuff, angels and demons and.
Yeah, I haven't read a lot of Christian books. Like I've read Crazy Love. I've read some other Francis Chan book that I can't remember the name of. And it's been a long time, but I guess probably my favorite is Redeeming Love. If that does that count? Like that's what we're talking about, right? Like fiction. Because that's probably my favorite. But I really don't have a lot to choose from in my catalog of Christian books, so whoops.
Terrible at it.
Yeah, also The Shack.
Oh, I never read that one.
I just looked at my shelf and I'm like, oh right, The Shack.
I still have to read that one. My mom gave it to me forever ago to read, and I still haven't.
Read along.
Yeah. Get it read.
Yeah. Well, it helped me read it.
It's true.
Okay, somebody said, yo, hello, I'm an atheist, and I have no idea what this book is about, but it sounds interesting. Look at me contributing to this. I thought there was a question.
Yeah.
Contributing to the discussion.
Can I say favorite books? Can I say favorites?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, if we're going devotional, Jesus Calling.
Oh yes, that one's good. That one's good.
I love Jesus Calling, and I also love My Utmost for His Highest. I read both of those. The Life You've Always Wanted by John Ortberg. Also, in this, if you're like more intellectual, The Celebration of Discipline is another really great one. And I really like the This Present Darkness and the Circle trilogy. Okay.
I bought. Okay, here's the thing. I went to a discount bookstore and I got. I could not tell what the order of the books in the Circle trilogy was, so I got White, I think, and White's like
White,
0.
the last one.
So I still have to get the first one. Somebody said, "Put a bonnet on it." That's what you said. That's my new name for the fiction that I can't make myself read.
Put a bonnet on it. Yeah.
I can't read either.
I have a friend that's like in the publishing industry, and she is a doctor and she writes physical therapy books, and she's like, yeah, I get kind of lumped with all these books that all the fiction is set in Amish country and they all have bonnets on the cover. And so that's just like...
It really is. It's actually like set in the Civil War. I don't understand it.
Like, you'll never...
I don't either.
I live in the South, and I get like why it's in there at my Barnes and Noble, but at the same time I'm like, but why? Like, why isn't there any like? There's like 2 contemporary books. Like,
Yeah. It's like you walk into the books, like we have actually went out of business, never mind, but we used to have a used bookstore in my hometown. It was like this huge bookstore, literally half of it was like Christian fiction, and like, is that what we were talking about? My internet kind of cut out. It is,
yeah.
right? That's what we're talking about. Okay, yeah, cool. And it was like, it's all in that time period, and I'm just like, okay, that's not really my favorite time period, but all right.
Roll with it.
Yeah, sure, why not?
It's difficult, though, and it's like a daunting task because, like, booktubers don't really cover that, so it's like you go up to them and you're like, which one of these is quality?
Yeah.
What is relevant to what we kind of already read in this movie?
Yeah. Somebody said, it seems that Screwtape's directions pointed to the fact that humanity's pride is what will send the patient to hell. Do you think that pride is what Lewis means by the hypocrisy of Christianity?
Maybe.
I gotta think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's a pretty intense question.
This is like, can I just say, like, thank you to everybody that contributed to the Goodreads group, because everybody wrote such intelligent, amazing things on there that I just learned so much, and I was just like, this part of the book was good.
Yeah. That's how I felt like when I was reading it or listening to it. I was like, I kind of like, after I finished reading it, because it's a short book, so like I was like, I'll just kind of like let it all kind of, I don't know, mash through or I don't
percolate.
know. Yeah.
I guess, like, when I think about it, like, pride, I mean, like, the people that, like, think holier than thou, you know,
Well, I think part of the pride thing is that, like, there's a difference between saying you live this way, like you're living according to like how Jesus taught and stuff, and then there's not actually following through on that. So, which is kind of like what the temptation was about, right? Like, you're not supposed to judge other people, but then that demon's there tempting you to judge everybody else. But you tell everybody that, oh, I'm a Christian, I don't judge anybody, but really you do that, and you're not like aware of it. Like, you're not allowing yourself to be self-aware.
But then there was also that point that he said, like, there's also the times when the patient says, like, I'm not going to judge this person, and then you go back and he's thinking, oh, I did such a good job, I didn't judge that person.
Yeah.
That's pride.
And
I patted myself on the back.
It's
yeah,
like,
you also have the times where, like, he's like, oh, this girl is praying for, you know, this to be, like, humble, or to, I don't remember what it was. No, wait. She's praying to, what was it? It was, like, to fit in or something like that, and, like, he was like, but what she's really asking is to be like everybody else. And I was like, huh. Because, like, there are times where we're like, can I just fit in? Can I just make this an easy thing? And it's like, no. God's calling you to be different. Even if that means being super weird, which I think that's kind of part of it, too, is just, like, being like, okay, I'm not going to be like everybody else. I'm not going to live like everybody else. Like, yeah, I'm going to have some similarities sometimes, but...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of talk about, what Screwtape wanted, pushing his own agenda, like
Yeah.
you should push this on this person's life, and there was a lot of the talk of like twisting good things that the enemy was, or God was.
Yeah.
I can't say it now. It's difficult. Um, the stuff that God wants you to do, and then the stuff that Screwtape was like, okay, well, take that, and then kind of make it go your own way. And I think that happens in our mind more than we think.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel like this slight unreliability of the narrator comes in, where you're like, you question yourself. Like after reading this, I'm like questioning myself a lot, like with the prideful, like, am I giving myself a pat on the back? Is that wrong? Should I not be doing that? Like, kind of difficult to understand.
I think like with the pride thing, he said, I don't know if you said this because I kind of just
Well, that's fine.
here for a minute because something happened. But he said something about how like you want the people to be prideful, but like at the same time they can get to a point where they're so in tune with God that like their pride is more a reflection on God, because you're like really happy with what you did because you're like, God gave me the ability to do this, and it's only because of God's help that I could do this, and that's why you're like, wow, this is so great because God helped me do this. He had like a whole like section on that, so I think, I don't know, but I wanted to mention.
Yeah. Did you guys feel like there were any moments in the book where you were questioning whether Screwtape was right about these things? Like I think there was one moment where like he was talking about pacifism, and I know that C.S. Lewis is like against pacifism, and I was just like really confused with them. Like, is he right that like pacifism is not a good thing, or like I was just kind of confused.
I think in that case, he was talking about extremes. He was like, you want them to be either extreme pacifism or extremely for the war. And it was like the two sides, like the super extremes of both sides, where you're like, it's not necessarily like what you believe, but it becomes your identity, where you're like, this is what I believe, and it overshadows your faith in God, if you will. I think that's more of what he was talking about, because he's like, you want them to be extremely for the war or extremely against the war. You don't want them to be in the middle on this. You want them to be on one side or the other.
Awesome.
Agreed.
Somebody said, what Liz mentioned about fitting in, I think it's so interesting that Screwtape said about Satan orchestrating fashions in body type.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there were just so many things like that C.S. Lewis brought to the surface that I thought were just so cool. Like those little moments about that.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily like body types, but it was also like talking about like being an intellectual and things like that. Like there were times where it's like, okay, I don't know, he was talking about like people being so vain and like instead of like being into, education and stuff like that, they more wanted to improve their, I don't know, their ego almost.
Yeah.
He even talked about the media at one point. He kind of like almost referenced Photoshop. He's like, the people that you see in the magazine, they don't exist. And I was like, that's again to go with the old-fashioned thing. Like it's still relevant today.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting about how he was mentioning influencing like concepts of beauty and body type and all that, because if you think about it, our perceptions of beauty can be used to persecute other people. So like right now people tend to be mean to somebody because they don't feel like they fit their concept of beauty, kind of a thing, like they belittle them, and that's like a form of conflict, and that's something that is wrong, which is something that Satan would like, right? He would like conflict like that.
Yeah, and it's also that whole, like, if you're criticizing other people for how they look, or even, like, just yourself, like, we were made in the image of God, so it's, like, that fun, not fun thing where you're, like, criticizing God's creation. It's like, I hate how I look, so you hate You know what I'm saying? So it just creates a lot of. It's just a big mess everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody here asked, hang on, how does Screwtape's advice about the patient's family shed light on your own family interactions? Like, if you have a story about how your family and how that illustrates temptation of virtue. You want to get personal?
It's like really personal.
Yeah, I don't know how,
Well, I think, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, your family. Like, are we, like, talking about the part where it's, like, it could just be people that you spend a lot of time with. Like, sometimes when, like, you spend a lot of time with someone, like, things start to bother you about them, and it's, like, it's this bond that you guys have, but, like, you start to pick at little things you don't like about them, and that's really, like, not healthy for, like, friendships, family relationships, whatever. And I thought that part was really interesting because it's like when he was talking about how the guy's like relating to his mom, and it's like I can't exactly remember because I read it a few days ago, but it was like does everyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so it's like animosity builds up, but it just like gets pushed down and down and down. And it's just like this big ball of anger and frustration that shouldn't really be there. Just I thought that part was really interesting and could be applied to things that aren't just families, but yeah.
I know in my own personal experience, like I'll give a very broad friend example. You know, college, you meet a lot of people that are, you know, doing things that they shouldn't be, and when you hang out with those people, it is kind of like that judgment of like the holier than thou type thing, where it's like you think like if only they were a Christian, they wouldn't be doing this, and that it comes up so often, you know, when you see people doing these things like in the dorm, and you're just hanging out, you're living right next door to them, and you're like, you know, I wish I could have this influence on this person that this annoying habit would be. And not really like a love for their heart, it's more like things that they're doing.
Yeah, and to kind of like tag on to that, like sometimes they fuel your holier than thou-ness too. Like, I don't mean to turn that into like an adjective, but like, yeah, I had friends in college where they were like, it's so great that you're in Bible study and you do these things and you're so dedicated to it. And like one of my friends was like, she came to me once, she was like, Liz, I prayed for the first time since the beginning of the school year. It was just the Our Father, but I was like, I don't.
I get it, yeah.
I was like, I want to be a good influence on you, but I don't know how to because I'm 18 years old, you know, at the time. Now, 27, and I'm like, I know a little bit better how to deal with that because you deal with more people like that, and it's like, okay, kind of learn and all that.
Well, another thing I thought was interesting, I think he actually mentioned it in this same section when we had mentioned it a little bit earlier about praying for people and not like doing broad prayers. But he mentioned Screwtape having them pray for things that annoy them about the other person instead of something that is actually affecting the other person. It's like instead of praying for his mom's rheumatism, instead pray that she'll stop doing this behavior that annoys him. So that's not really. You know, you should be praying for something that would help them, not for something that annoys you, which I thought was interesting.
I definitely like self-reflect some of that, like, because, you know, like, pray that this person stops drinking or hanging out with this person. Like, I pray that they'll see clarity when it's really like, I just wish they'd stop. Like, it's not praying for the actual problems in your life. It's for the things that just tick you off.
And it's also like realizing that they have other problems and like deeper parts of them than what annoys you on the surface.
Yeah. Kind of is like, never mind. I don't know how to articulate that. Never mind.
Well, that's fine. Screwtape is a liar and can be, even from his own angle. How can you tell when Screwtape is telling the truth from his own angle and when he's out and lying?
I think sometimes he gets desperate and he's like, do what you have to do and do some crazy stuff to like Because like I mentioned before, like sometimes he's like, okay, we're gonna pretend to be his guardian angel. Just do what you can.
Okay. What can we do? What can we do? Guardian angel.
Yeah, guardian angel, protect.
He's like in panic mode.
Yeah. Especially for the end where I think like another demon goes to help Wormwood or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's just like, just how much Wormwood's screwing up. He's just like, okay, now we need to get creative. Like,
yeah.
But, like, I just wonder if, like, do you think that, like, because obviously we've pointed out these things in our lives that we realize, do you think that all of the things that he points out are as effective as he thinks they are? Like, to leading somebody away from Christianity. Like, the little things, the little twisting things. I don't know.
I think that's one thing that he thinks that it's the little things that will lead you away from God more so than the big things.
Yeah.
Question, where did Maureen go?
I think
she went to go get on her laptop.
Okay.
And someone is echoing.
Is it me?
Wait, is it? Well, like, I hear my someone say something.
Hello?
Yeah, everyone's doing it.
Yeah, it's all echoing.
Oh, wow.
Surround sound.
Yeah.
Double
We're
surround
holier than
sound.
thou.
That's so fun.
Just in case.
If we all put in headphones, it'll probably go away.
Hang on, let me grab some.
These are all tangled up.
Just a little intermission.
I can't wear my glasses.
I got it. Just let me know if I can still talk, like, after I put them in, like you can hear me. Because that was a problem last time.
Hello?
I think it fixed.
I think we fixed it. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, it's not echoing anymore.
Cool.
I'm done.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, that was a brief intermission. So,
Now we're back.
Quick. Now we're back.
hang on.
Yeah, pick
Do you
it up.
guys, do you guys have any other questions?
I am moving, sorry.
No, it's fine.
You guys are so lucky you're able to move your laptops. When I unplug my laptop just dies. I'm like,
That was my problem. I had to get a new one. This year I finally got a Mac. I was just like, it's time.
I have a Mac, but I've had it since 2008, so the battery, every 4 years is like, nah, bye.
I just got my Mac a few months ago, and it's like such an improvement.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Somebody asked, will Screwtape Proposes a Toast be discussed later, or perhaps The Great Divorce? More Lewis, they wanted more.
I feel like Screwtape Proposes a Toast was just kind of like a wrap-up of his experience. Screwtape letters.
Well, yeah, something that I found really interesting, like, I'm not sure if it's in there. I didn't actually read the Screwtape Proposes a Toast, but what I've heard is that he talks a lot about, like, how difficult it was to write this book, like, for C.S. Lewis personally. Yeah. Like, he said it was so difficult, like, to have to, like, I couldn't imagine writing as this really sadistic demon for, like, the entirety of it.
But also, like, yeah, and apparently he wrote it in sections, and it was, like, published in other places and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm sure, like, emotionally as well as, like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, that's all you're hearing from C.S. Lewis for a while. It's just, like, demon commentary.
Like, calm down, Lewis.
Like, okay, come on.
Okay. Something about the Great Divorce. Have any of you read The Great Divorce?
I don't know what that is, honestly.
There's another C.S. Lewis book.
Okay.
I think one of my friends read it.
It's about heaven and about, like, his take on people going into heaven and going, like, and, like, the process of going into heaven, like, their lives before. It's really, really interesting and really, like, I mean, Screwtape is, like, nothing I've ever read, but that's also, like, nothing I've ever read. To have, like,
heaven. It's really interesting.
I mean, I would love to read all these at some later date, but like no promises right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So many
like
books.
too many books. Too many.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who comes up with that. I'm like, so
I'm
many
still waiting.
books.
I might do that in like a book haul sometime. It's just like
Please
too
do.
many books.
I'm not the only person who does like random stuff like that. I once sat on the bathroom floor and like made up a song about drinking emergency because that was a thing for me for a while. I don't know. And then one of my friends, every time he sees me, he sings that song, which isn't very often, but still, I was like, okay.
I do that kind of stuff around my family all the time, and every once in a while I'll do something like that at work, and everybody's always super shocked. They're like, "Wow, I've never seen this side of you."
Was it you that said like you were like laughing out loud in your cubicle about my story?
I was, and because I listen to YouTube videos while I'm working, because I can do it while I'm typing or whatever, and my car's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "Nothing."
Nothing at all.
Yeah, that's still embarrassing. She knows that I told people about it, but
I like showed it to my whole family because I was laughing so hard.
for those of you
It was a
not in
great
the
story.
loop, I made a book, like a story time video about how I bought my friend Pride and Prejudice from a bookstore, and it turned out to be an erotic version of
Oh no!
That's incredible.
And I didn't know, and then like a week later she came back to me and told me like, oh yeah, sorry.
It's like so awkward.
Oh my god.
Anyway, somebody said it's almost like the whole objective is to get the patient to look inward and never to see himself and never think that things need to be changed. There's something that scares all of us without looking internally. We are our own worst enemy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's how I found it.
That's April Sarah, and she's been writing a lot of really interesting stuff on the Goodreads. So
That's good. I need to
That was
get
exactly
that.
Go girl.
yeah.
That whole screw tape letters it's just, you try to project everything onto everybody else without fixing yourself. It's kind
Yeah.
of like that, ignoring the plank in your own eye to point out somebody else's splinter thing.
Yeah. I think it's really cool, like, because I feel like C.S. Lewis's works all encompass so much of Christianity, like so many little topics that are really important. Like this one's really about the external and temptation, and then The Great Divorce, I guess, is about heaven, and so yeah.
I did. I looked it up actually, and it's like both. It's like heaven, hell. And
Okay.
It's
Okay.
afterlife,
That
basically.
makes sense for the Great Divorce.
I always found the need to root for the main character whenever I read the book. Clearly here, I don't want him to win, which is something I've struggled with. Did any of you struggle with, like, not rooting for Screwtape as a protagonist, or Wormwood, I guess?
No.
I didn't really
I
struggle with
did.
that.
I definitely did not root for anyone.
No.
It was like not like it didn't feel weird to me because I was just like, because usually like sometimes I am rooting for like a particular person, but like for this it was like you're more okay, how is this gonna turn out, as opposed to, you know, oh, I'm rooting for the Christian. Like technically I was like,
you're
I
really
really
thinking
hope this
about
guy
yourself.
makes it through.
Yeah.
You're most of the time.
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't read philosophical books that often, and I kind of want to a lot more now because like it really is a self-reflection. Like even with nonfiction and stuff, you're still reading about another topic and another person, but like with this, it's like really you're reading about other people, but you're thinking about yourself while you're reading it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was cool. And yeah, I feel like I kind of rooted for the patient, but honestly, it was just kind of like figuring out what his story was, because it really is one-sided. You're only hearing Screwtape, and you have to piece together everything else. Okay, so yeah. Dylan said, Maureen just texted me saying that it's the Narnia C.S. Lewing. And Katie texting me saying it's not. What's the truth?
I thought he was.
I thought he was asking me if we were talking about the Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh,
No,
okay.
we were definitely not talking about the Chronicles. We mentioned it.
But then I just texted him again and was like, just kidding, I just read thing wrong.
So yes, Dylan, it's the same author but different book.
This is a part of Chronicles of Narnia.
This is the spin-off.
Yeah.
Spin-off.
Spin-off. The patient is Edmund. And in the end, he wins.
Ooh.
Gosh, I can't stand Edmund.
He's the worst.
Oh
He's the worst trope.
He gets a lot better after the first book.
no, I know, but I still get frustrated with him. Like, he's just one of those characters that it's like, yeah, he's a good guy, but I really can't, like, root for him.
Yeah, like, if a character is like that at the beginning where you're like, I don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just love all the comparisons on Tumblr that are always like, Edmund sold out his family for weeks. He is all of us. And like the fresh air thing where she's like, we need to get fresh air, and he's like, there's air inside. That's like accurate.
It's accurate. Like I guess that's another problem is like it's the self-reflection of, oh my gosh, we're all Edmund.
We want to be Lucy, but we're Edmund.
Like we're the capital in the Hunger Games. We are Edmund.
Again. We are the enemy.
So, have any of you guys read all of Narnia, or have you just read?
I cannot get through the Silver Chair.
The Silver Chair is rough.
I can't remember which order they go in, but I've definitely read The Magician's Nephew, and there's one that involves a horse, I think.
The Boy and His Horse.
The Horse and His Boy. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I've read an abridged version of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and seen all of the movies and a play.
Okay, if you really want a treat, go watch the old BBC version.
I've seen those.
I feel like I have seen
so
that.
funny. Like when they magically get transported to Narnia, it's always the corniest thing ever said.
It's like full bodysuit beavers playing Mr. and Mrs. Beaver. Like they're the same size as all of the kids.
It's fantastic.
I really love The Horse and His Boy. If any of you haven't read that, you should.
I haven't read that one.
I haven't read it since high school, which was
feel like
too long ago.
Yeah, it was something with me where I was like, I want the main story. Like, Narnia is weird in where there's, like,
it's all
optional characters and books. Like, Magician's Nephew.
Yeah, you don't have to read all of them.
Yeah.
To get the main story, but, I mean, just read it. There's a part in there that, like, hit me hard spiritually in The Horse and His Boy. It's like something about he's walking on a cliff, and he doesn't, like, he thinks he's going to fall off the edge, but he doesn't, and then he gets to the top, and he was like, I realized that, like, Aslan was with me the whole time. I just, like, didn't know, and he was putting me on the edge, and I was like, so good. That's probably
It just blows my mind how creative he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's just so, like, he created, like, what if, you know, God wanted to save another world? Okay, Narnia. What if a demon was writing to another demon? Screwtape letters. Like, I love all of his, like, ideas, but I need to read his other books.
Yeah.
Somebody said Screwtape Letters was dedicated to J.R.R. Tolkien. What is the significance of it?
They were friends.
BFF forever.
Also, one of my friends told me that I forget which denomination Tolkien was, but apparently he was not happy when C.S. Lewis was like another denomination after he was saved or something. I was like,
he was Catholic, I think,
Okay.
and at the time he was an atheist. And then when there were the Inklings, him and the other guy ended up converting him to Christianity, but I can't remember what religion he converted to.
I think, it's just so cool to think that they were actually best friends. And I remember watching, like, one of Ariel's videos, like, one of her vlogging things, and she's like, yeah, that's the place where they hang out and they met. And it's like, it's so cool. Like, you don't think of these authors that, like, are so famous that we're just, like, friends. Like, you think of the authors now that are...
oh, yeah, friends. They're all buddy-buddy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love just, like, thinking about how... Who else was in their group? Because it was the Inklings, and I'm trying to think
who was in that clip.
Well, I read this. It's like a trilogy, a romance trilogy. So I mean, Christian fiction romance, but she like went to Oxford and England for a while and studied a lot of C.S. Lewis's and J.R.R. Tolkien's life and like put that in the book too. Because in the 60s, like right after C.S. Lewis has died, and this guy was like mentored by him. But he like talks about how they would play Scrabble, like the Tolkiens and the Lewises would play Scrabble together, and their rules were that they could use any word from any language as long as like they could prove it, and how they would prove it is they would prove it by finding like any of the Elvish language.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
I could not win.
Such nerds.
at
Yeah,
all.
exactly.
So apparently the other guy was Hugo Dyson, and he converted to the Church of England.
Yeah, because Books for MK says Tolkien was Catholic and Lewis was, I missed it. It went away. Anglican or something.
Yeah.
No, Church of England.
And Tolkien.
Yeah, somebody did say that. Yeah, all these people knew so much about this. Like, thank you guys.
All these questions are so intelligent. I'm
Yeah.
You guys are so
I'm
smart.
glad we haven't
I'm
had
so
any like,
happy.
trolls or anything.
Like, so many people, like, I'll watch other live events, and it's like, what was your favorite part? And what was the ending like? And it's like, it's good discussion, but, like, this is, like, making me think really
let's
hard.
talk about the ships. No. Which
Who do
are
you
good
guys ship
questions.
in this book? Do you guys?
I ship the couple. I ship the friends that like Wormwood or like Screwtape wanted him to be friends with. Like,
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Do you think Screwtape and Wormwood could have a ship name?
Their uncle.
Oh, worm tapeworm.
Yes.
If I ever have to give my OTP, it's Tapeworm.
Oh, I got really excited about that. I clapped my hands really hard. That was really exciting for me.
Somebody says, thinking about how Lewis says humor is incompatible with Satan, and how making the devil suave and witty makes us less alarmed by him, I think about this a lot. Bad guys being funny and cool, and how that's not a good thing. Thoughts?
That was one of like the things that really stuck out to me when reading this, is that part about humor and how it's like, if everything's like, it's like the people that are joking about this very serious stuff, they're never actually joking about it, but they say it under the pretense of it being a joke. So if you call them out, they're like, I'm just kidding. Like, that happens so much, and it's so frustrating. But
And it's like making those like really serious topics like not matter at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Like, characters.
But also, okay, I just like read the last sentence about like, I think about bad guys being funny, cool. How is that not a good thing? And I forgot my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
It was difficult for me to pronounce, like, read these long questions. Like,
Yeah, because I'm like,
but I'm like,
okay.
yeah. Like, I think we see that so often in YA. It's like we want the snarky character that's always just gonna like put other people down. Like, I think of
Yeah, but then like you find out that there's like another layer
there's
to
a heart
it.
of gold underneath it all.
Or like, you know, they were hurt by somebody or whatever.
Like,
it was.
well, I think though that does come off though. Like, I know, like, my example will be Jace from the Mortal Instruments series.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, he's one of those characters that like you're reading him and you're just like, he's just like an awful person though. Like, when you're reading them, it's like, oh, it's funny, but when you step back and you look at the big picture, like, I wouldn't really want to be around him. So, yeah, I don't know.
He drives me crazy. Yeah, he drives me crazy.
It also kind of depends on the humor, because like he specified the different types of humor, and a lot of like the cool whatever bad guys humor is very much down-putting and very much like like it's sarcastic, but you can be sarcastic without being like mean to people and without turning it back on yourself, but not like in a bad way, not like really self-deprecating, but like you can make it so it's not about like people, but about
thing,
if you will. So it's like the true humor isn't gonna be really crude, and it's not gonna be down-putting, and it's not gonna hurt people, but it's still gonna be funny. So I feel like you can be sarcastic and be witty, like situations, but not like put people down, which is the negative side of that.
I definitely think there's a balance. I think like if you took any sarcastic humor out, like, oh sorry, I'm not going to be funny anymore. But I think it definitely depends on like where are your limits set. Like I know that like I sometimes don't have that type of filter set for me where like this thing like a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it also makes like you not trust like those characters too.
I think there's a way to be really make humorous characters, but make them not like evil or mean-spirited in the jokes that they're making.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be funny with big butt.
Not have the bad boy with a heart of gold trope.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that definitely is something that we all see a lot when reading, especially in like the YA genre and all these books. You want the character that is the snarky one that you can, that appeals to a lot of people because it's humor, but it's also like either the bad boy or bad girl. Like
because you always shift the two. Like I know in contemporary, a big thing is you've got these two characters who hate each other, and they've hated each other since they were like 5. Like, okay, I don't understand why you hate each other or whatever, but now it's cute.
Like maybe you should just go your separate ways. Like that's just not how it happens in the real world. Like if somebody's really that annoying and you really hate them, odds are you're gonna break away a bit. Like
there's gonna be something that's like, okay, that's not working.
Yep.
Why do you think that Lewis chose to call the human in the book the patient? Is Screwtape like a doctor? Why not say the subject or the citizen or your assignment?
Because sin is sickness.
Wait, what did you say?
I said because sin is a sickness.
That's why we're all using the finger guns here, like, yeah, I guess.
Boom.
I mean, I don't really know.
I don't know. I feel like, it is kind of like a project that you are. I mean, you joke about it, but it is kind of like a sickness. Like you're trying to completely, like, cure them of their Christianity almost.
It's like a psychological kind of.
Yeah, like he's a psychological patient. He's a patient. I honestly don't know. You probably know the answer. Honestly.
Deep within you, you know it.
This person she knows so much about CS.
Oh, I'm sure. Books for MKs. I don't know. Or missionaries kids.
MKs, like missionary kids? Okay, that's what I was.
Oh, okay.
I was an MK, kind of, ish, a little bit. I was an MK that was stateside, so.
Well, reply if we're correct then. Because I'm pretty sure, that's what it is.
You're like, throw me a bone here.
Yeah, it's like MKs and PKs and,
Yeah.
How to tell we grew up in church.
Sorry. Well, we can tell who didn't. So. One who doesn't know acronyms.
We still love you.
Well, you better. It's a point. Anyway.
Christians like. Go to that website. Go get it.
Stuff white people like.
Okay, no, go read stuff Christians like. It's so funny. He has a whole thing where he talks about like kids' church food pyramid, and he was like off-brand Oreo crackers.
Oh my gosh! No, I know.
Cardboard, but he's like, orange drink is like the same everywhere. It's not even Kool-Aid. It's just orange drink.
Liquid
basically
like
orange.
down Gatorade.
No,
Yeah.
I know that. Do you guys know Blimey Cow?
I love Blimey
Yeah.
Cow.
Okay, the homeschooler stuff. Like, even though like
Yeah.
I'm not a homeschooler, it's basically like just growing up in a Christian home. Like, what was it? He was talking about just all the Veggie Tales, and like you commented something about Lord of the Beans today.
He's the best. Katie, can you
Guys, guys, Maureen yesterday was like, "Oh my gosh, have you seen Lord of the Bees?" And I was like, "No." And then she told me about it. And I was like, "That sounds really funny, but I should probably watch Lord of the Rings first." So, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's actually the best one though. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, that is the best of all of them.
Okay, I just sent all of you guys in the
Sweet.
chat the link to the orange drink, and he taught the food pyramid is goldfish, discount pizza, bootleg cookies, and orange drink. And he had another. There was like how hipster is your worship leader, and he also talks about like the levels of V-necks.
I
And how,
need to read that.
Yes.
Because if I showed you guys a picture of the worship leader at the church that I go to, you'd be like, yeah. And he like goes turkey hunting, and I'm like, I don't. What is this balance?
What?
I go to like not a super country church, but like the worship pastor is definitely a very much hipster. Yeah. Orange drink is a cross between Gatorade, Kool-Aid, Sunny Delight, and Tang. I could not drink it. I was like, what is... I don't understand. What is happening to my taste buds?
It's just so funny that everybody goes through that. Like, everybody that grew up in a church knew that. But anyway, it was confirmed. MK stands for Missionaries Kid.
Cool.
I donate books to kids overseas on the missions field. That's great.
that's awesome.
That's really cool.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I wish I was that
Yeah.
nice.
And then somebody said about the bad guys being cool. I think of this whenever I watch Ocean's 11. These guys are thieves, but you find yourself wanting them to succeed. I have to catch myself thinking that these are the good guys when they are not. And that's something with like shows like we're in the age of like the anti-hero.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
So
Yeah.
much. Like, well, Breaking Bad, Walter White is watching me right now. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah.
Yep.
He's in the
Oh,
back.
hello, friend.
So yeah, like we do live in the age of the anti-hero, and it's like something where you do kind of need to catch yourself sometimes, like how far do you actually root for these people, and how often are you saying that the things that they're doing are right? Because I know internally, like I watch Breaking Bad, and I'm like, no, this guy's an awful guy, but like I do root for him because it's entertaining to root for him.
I watch Chicago PD, and it has a bunch of bad cops, and they're good people. They mean to do well. So you're like, but at the same time, you're like, okay, I would never
Helping
want to
his
do this
family.
in my life.
Yeah.
Oh, how metrosexual you
I just saw yours.
There's a one that's like if he drinks coffee on stage +3 if he makes his own coffee on stage.
Okay, guys, hold on
hair
just a
product.
second. Just a second.
There was another video that somebody showed me. I think it was the same person that talked about the put a bonnet on it, and they said it was like the new hipster wave church, and they're like the worship leader comes out and he's like he's got his arms open and he's like, I'm showing you I have a tattoo that shows I have a past. And, like,
Oh my god.
fantastic.
That's
I don't know.
amazing.
But yeah, there's also this amazing Christian movie that I saw. Like usually I'm not big on Christian movies. But there's one that was like an anti-Christian movie where it was a Christian film, but it was these guys.
The Believe Me one.
Believe me, it
I
was
wanted to see that so
fantastic.
bad.
We
I
had
need
a
to see it.
big like get together thing for it. Anyway, but it's like he takes those things, and it's kind of almost like the Screw Tape Letters, where he like takes those things that Christians do, like the Christian themes, and twist them around. It's basically about a group of guys that have lost funding for their college, so they decide to create a fake charity, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
aren't Christians, so they have to act like Christians. So they like learn like, okay, you have to wear the V-necks, and you gotta like say the Christian words. There's like different ways of raising your hands during worship. There's like the palms out, and then there's the one hand like giving God a high five. Like, it's great.
my
I love
It's
it.
so bad, but it's so true. Where you're just like,
Yeah, it's the same type of feeling, I guess.
I think that's one thing that I like when watching Blind Me Cow videos. Like sometimes, a lot of times it's like over the top, and you're like,
definitely.
but a lot of times it like hits you hard, and you're like one that was like the top 10 things I love more than God, and there was like talked about like comfort and safety and like all this stuff, and says in a really like sarcastic way, but you're like, oh,
he's right.
Like one of them was like spiritual highs, and it was like God saying like, oh, do you want like your favorite worship song at church, or like after a missions trip, or last day of camp?
I know, yeah. Like, I need a last day of camp right now. Like, like a shot of last day at camp.
And like, it's just, and like there was one about like the U.S. and like how people put their country over.
Oh,
and,
yeah, like.
U.S. is the best country ever.
Yeah.
It's really.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't have anything else to say. I was just saying that.
I was gonna ask, do you guys want to end in 15 minutes?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
I found my computer might die before then, so.
I mean, we could talk as long as we
We'll
want.
just like all log out when Maureen's computer crashes or whatever, or like that way it seems intentional. Like, well, yeah, we said bye.
Bye. I'm trying to look for more questions. Besides Screwtape, Wormwood, and the Patient, what characters stood out to you most in reading this book?
There were other characters.
Yeah.
They weren't really like main characters, but there was like the wife,
There's
the friends.
Mm-hmm. The friends that he was trying to impress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but didn't he have like several sets of friends that he was like, I can be this kind of person around these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like be with these friends when you want to do this.
Yeah.
Be with those friends when you want to do that. And that's definitely something difficult for me, you know, being in a dorm again, having a whole bunch of.
It's such an easy example, though.
No, but it honestly, like, you live with these people, and then you go to church with these people, and there is a different air to each one.
Oh yeah.
Mm. I mean, I think I definitely, like, that happens. I live in Hawaii, which is, like, super, like, everyone is so, like, chill, and I'm like, I don't know, it's such a different mindset than, like, the mainland U.S., and especially, like, the South. I'm from Alabama, so it's like these two huge contrasting places in a lot of ways, so it's like, whenever I go home, I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense, it's like, so there's definitely that, like,
It's self-monitoring.
a little bit.
Yeah.
You're just like, so
I totally
get that. Mm-hmm.
I think the character I think the friends stood out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were just like certain physical like things, like the church stood out a lot. Like his descriptions of like different churches, and like you should look into getting your patient to try out a different church. Like he seems a little dissatisfied with the way that like his church experience. Like that's definitely something that
and it's so easy to be like, or at least I live 30 minutes from Atlanta, so it's really easy to find like any church, like
any church you want.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I want to go to Passion City Church, I can go there. It's kind of farther out there, but like, you know, I can go, there's just like a bazillion churches when you live in freaking Georgia. But so technically right now I'm a part of two different churches.
Same though. Like it's I'm in a Bible study with one that I've really like grown up with, but then I serve in another. So it is difficult because of that. But I think that really makes like the idea of the church come together, like a whole.
Exactly. Yeah, church. Like as it's not just a building and a set of people. It's like
it's not the style that really matters. Okay, let me see if there are any other questions. If you guys can find any, or you have any. Would you read a new Screwtape book that was written by somebody other than C.S. Lewis?
I did read one.
Really? Yeah, all right, you said that, yeah. what do you think? Like, how does it compare? Like, do you think one is superior to the other, or do you think that they're both really?
I think it's just like the time periods. Like the other one takes place in like the early 2000s, so it's a little bit different.
Like, it points that stuff out.
It points like more modern stuff out, and I mean, like I feel like just like a lot of the stuff C.S. Lewis talks about is really timeless and like stuff that still applies. But there's like some things that could be hit on that are more relevant to now that maybe weren't necessarily as much of an issue then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like there's still stuff like left out that time is just like kind of erased. Like he couldn't have talked about something like the internet and issues that come up with that, and
No.
like those type of temptations that come from the internet. So yeah.
What's your favorite finger?
Okay,
Dylan has a question.
What's Dylan's
What did
question?
Dylan
What's your favorite finger?
This one, no. Anyway.
Pinky.
No.
Unless that's offensive.
Letters is the one that is like C.S. Lewis, and there's another like the Ishping Chronicles, and also Lord Albert Letters. I read both of those.
Do you think it would be interesting to have a book from an angel's perspective, or do you think that would be kind of like just like the Bible, kind of?
That might be kind of hard to do. I feel like it might be easier for a human to write from the perspective of a demon than to write from a perspective of an angel.
Yeah, because I think like when you think about it, demon, you can speak truth and lie, whereas like angel, it's like you really can only speak truth, and when you're assuming truth, it's difficult. I'm just gonna go through some questions that we answered already. Just things.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some.
Goodbye.
Is anybody doing Drew's 24-hour readathon tomorrow?
I wish, but I work all day tomorrow.
I am. It's my first one, though.
I wish I could read for 24 hours. That would be,
y'all.
oh my gosh, that would be such a gift.
Yeah.
I can't start until like noon, though, because I have to run a bunch of errands. So eventually I will start.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but no. I'm watching the Peter Pan. My school's putting on Peter Pan, so I'm gonna see that.
I usually end up reading a bunch of kids' books. So one time I read a bunch of Captain Underpants books.
I think I'll probably like half participate because it just kind of depends. Like I have stuff I need to do, so it's like I want to really like full in participate, but like I have a lot of things to do, and I might be going to the theme park tomorrow rather than Sunday. So who knows?
I mean,
Passion
Pit Sunday. So if anybody's in Norfolk watching, I will be there.
You're going to see Passion Pit?
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh, jealous.
I'm excited. Well, what's really funny was I'm going to see Passion Pit on Sunday, and then the next week my school is having their like annual like festival that they have at the end of the year, and Jessie J and Mac Miller are coming, so I'm excited for that too.
What on earth? They're coming to your school's festival?
What? Yeah, no, I was really surprised that they got them. Like.
That's crazy.
It's usually somebody really small. So this year is like exciting. I think one year though, like I think it was 2006, they got Taylor Swift, and that's the thing that they always like promote. They're like, we got Taylor Swift to come, but honestly, like nobody knew who she was back then.
We can at the college that I used to go to, we get bands that like were really cool like 10 to 15 years ago, so like went to Collective Soul and everybody's like freaking out, and it was like, guys, this band hasn't been relevant since we were in like middle school, so funny. But then the next year they had Cartel, and I was like, okay, this is, and there was some rap group.
Yeah, I don't want to stay off topic too long, but another thing, it's like we have Firefly Music Festival.
Oh, nice.
It's only about an hour from where I am, but like it's so expensive that I was going to go, but it would just be so much money to be able to like do any of it, and they're not doing day passes anymore. So I'm taking advantage of the concerts nearby.
Good idea.
Anyway, Any other questions? I feel like Angel's Perspective would be an interesting sequel. We assume that they aren't perfect or they are perfect beings. What if they weren't? And I wanted to ask the question of like in YA and also adult fiction, we see a lot of angel plot lines and a lot of I've never seen a good angel in any of these books.
Yeah, not totally.
Like I just started reading Angel Fall. I got an arc of it, and or not an arc, a galley, and it's like all the angels are just so evil and so manipulative. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Like Angel in the public context of.
I mean, I feel like they're not like God perfect, but I feel like they can't really be evil and still be angels because they wouldn't be in heaven. So it's, I mean, if you're wanting to go realistic, I wouldn't be like, I don't know that, I mean, I feel like the mistakes would be like just minor mistakes. It wouldn't be like a whole plot line of them like dealing with and wrestling with faith and that kind of stuff. So I don't know how interesting it would be. It'd be interesting to see like them like a letters, I guess like a letters on like a Screw Tapes letters but angels, but I don't know if they would mess up that much or if it would
I think
talk about like how the enemy is attacking them.
Yeah, like as we were talking about it, it's so difficult to assume talking about angels to be an author and say okay, this is what an angel's like. And you don't really know, and even with the demons you don't really know. And obviously Screw Tape's a very hypothetical demon. He's very proper in the way that he talks and everything. It's just all hypothetical. But anyway, Dylan says, I love Passion Pit. OMG, I'm having 2010 flashbacks. I feel like I'm 16 again.
I feel like also with angels, I don't know, I would feel like they would be like, this is my mission and I'm sticking to this kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe that's just, this is the way things are.
Maureen, what you doing?
I'm moving so that I can plug my computer in.
So,
It just keeps getting dark over there.
are we going outside?
Going on an adventure.
I'm gonna say hi to my mom. Everybody say hi to my mom.
Hi.
Katie, did you see Katie?
Hi.
You don't know everybody else, but that's my mom.
She knows me. Hi, girl. Okay.
I'm gonna ask this though, just because we're on a live chat. Is anybody going to BookCon?
I'm supposed to be.
I wish.
I wish I could.
Not
Too far.
It's too freaking
Yep.
So
I
anyone?
can't go
I'm
to
supposed to be going to all those things because I have a pass, but money is becoming an issue, and I'm like, so I'm supposed to be on a panel at BloggerCon, and I'm like,
Oh,
I hope I can get enough money to at least go to BloggerCon and BEA.
Yeah,
I'm okay if I skip BookCon just because I almost had a panic attack last year. There were just so many people.
Oh, I know. I'm nervous. Just sitting on the outside,
They oversold the tickets last year, and there wasn't enough space. But they're gonna have a day or so in between BEA and BookCon, and I'm thinking that they're gonna clear out a lot of the stuff and actually have enough room for everybody.
Yeah, that's just what I'm worried about, because I'm only going Sunday. Because I have relatives in Long
Yeah,
Island.
because this year is actually going to be 2 days instead of 1 day. Because that's the thing that was weird last year. It was just
I feel like I have the low expectations of I'm probably not gonna see everybody that I want to see. It's probably gonna be really crowded, but I'm just excited to meet people. So
yeah, it's fun because they also have signing lines and stuff like that. So even if you don't get to meet everybody, you get 2 to 3 minutes with the author or whatever. So
yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So Dylan, the only question I can find right now is Dylan asked turkey or chicken.
Chicken.
Dylan, what are you doing?
I'm sorry, the people.
I'm not responding to that.
A lot of the people that were asking
They also
questions.
said something about cheese.
You did?
I missed that one.
Where is that one? I can't find it. But yeah, no, everybody that was asking the really intelligent questions had to go.
Oh,
So
of course.
right now it's just
They had to go
filling
to
up.
park somewhere else.
Oh, if you could only
Not
eat
to say that.
cheese for the rest of your life, what cheese would you choose?
I don't know.
Mozzarella.
The kind
Cheddar.
made from milk.
Yeah,
I
that one.
don't know.
Goat cheese.
Monterey Jack. That would be my choice. Monterey Jack.
Cheddar for me. I'm not a big cheese person.
I legit have no idea.
Goat
Just
Brie or
cheese
mozzarella?
forever.
Because they're so diverse.
String cheese, that's like the best too. That is mozzarella.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, and pizza's mozzarella.
then probably that one because of pizza.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
mozzarella.
Yeah, we're kind of like
We're digressing.
Digressing.
intensely right now.
So yeah, any last points that you wanted to bring up about the book?
It was good.
Yep.
Very
C.S. Lewis
good.
is the man.
Do you
It's
think that
excellent.
you'll be reading any more C.S. Lewis in the near future?
Yeah.
At some point, I would
Monday.
like
Usually
to.
read I feel like I read like one a year or one every other year.
Yeah, I want to make it more of a point for me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I just reading this book and, like, how much kind of fulfillment and, like, thought was going on with it. Like, I'm reading other books on the side, and I'm just like, these don't compare. Like,
No.
honestly, at times, they really don't. But I think it definitely needs to be a balance. I don't think I could go on a Lewis kick and read a whole bunch.
Oh gosh, me either.
Like, yeah, like
I have
I'd
the
just-
bind up and I just look at it and it's like, woo, woo.
Yeah, I'm glad
yeah.
I got this read.
I think there are more books hiding in this book.
Yeah, yeah. I think that.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
Oh. I think it's definitely something where I was reading Gillian Flynn, and I couldn't read all three of hers at once. I needed to take a break in between them. So I feel like it's something that I need to like intersperse in between somewhere.
Definitely.
I have Surprised by Joy on my shelf, and my mom got it for me for Christmas. It's for like, I feel like I should read that soon because I've been wanting to read it because it's like his. I think it's about like Christianity, becoming a Christian, and so I really want to read it.
Yeah, I definitely want to read Mere Christianity.
That one's thick.
That's like the big one, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess Horse and His Boy now. You kind of got me.
Yeah, please read Horse and His Boy.
I'm gonna read all of the Chronicles of Narnia when I get back to Alabama one day because the box set's just been chilling for literally like half my life, and it's time because it's getting out of hand.
Yeah, I haven't
So-
read all of them. I've read half of the first one when I was 12, but I didn't finish it, so I need to.
I'm not alone. I'm very glad because I'm like every time a Narnia conversation starts, I'm like, no spoilers, no spoilers. It's been out for.
I mean,
forever,
I
but
know
don't
what
spoil
happens
me.
at the end, but I won't say.
I don't.
Uh,
I don't know.
Don't
so.
say anything, Arthur.
I won't. No,
I mean, I can
won't.
guess, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, but what I mean is like I think somebody was planning a read along for them, like the Year of Cosmere thing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, I mean, I've only missed 2 of them. I think I've read all of them besides the Horse and His Boy and the Silver Chair, but I've read part of the Silver Chair. The Silver Chair is just difficult. Yeah.
It's real rough.
I think you can skip that one, honestly. Like, you don't have to read the Silver Chair. It just introduces some characters. So that's just
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we should wrap up around now. So I want to thank everybody that is still watching. Thank you guys for joining us. Let us know what you thought of the whole read-along. Anyway, yeah, thanks guys for watching. Bye. I don't know, that was awkward.
Bye.
Bye.